Okay, it's very late at night, but I promised that I would make this video, and so I am going to do so, come hell or high water. Something as I was looking through the book, I noticed that it kind of follows a pattern, so that's why I brought this little chart up. I would encourage you, since we have a little bit of time to do this exercise, is to pull this out and kind of see how it flows. Basically, the codes flow this way. Okay. The anatomical parts simply follow the flow of urine out of the body from the kidney through the ureter to the bladder out the urethra. And then we'll get into male and female GU next week. Early next week for male GU, and then middle of the week after for female. And then there's kind of a pattern, except for this removal and urodynamics. Those strictly belong to bladder. They don't belong to anything else. So there's incision of a kidney, excision, introduction, which is anytime you put something into a body part, repairing it, laparoscopy, endoscopy. So you'll notice the codes all kind of follow this pattern. So as you're looking at things, remember your medical terminology. And if you see, pylectomy. Okay, well, pylo is the kidneys, and ecto is the removal of. You know that removal doesn't actually apply to the kidneys, so you know it's probably going to be in the excision part of it. It always goes incision, excision, introduction, repair, laparoscopy, endoscopy. So I want to kind of go through some of the things that you might find in there. For the incision part, there's a thing called a nephrostomy, which is basically a way of creating an artificial outlet for the urine to flow from the kidney. And then a nephrotomy is an exploration. Okay, so you're not really doing anything, you're just exploring the kidney by creating a hole in it, which is where the otomy comes from. Nephrolithotomy is removing basically kidney stones. They call it calculus, C-A-L-C-U-L-U-S. Has nothing to do with math, I promise. It's the same root word for calcium. So it's typical kidney stones. Kidney stones come in two flavors. Calcium and then not gastric acid. I'm forgetting it, but it's not nearly as common. Typically, they are calcium stones. There's a phrase you should know, ESWL, which is extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy. You may have heard of this if you've had kidney stones. It's a device where they use shockwaves to actually break up the kidney stones inside the ureter or the kidney if they haven't quite gotten to the ureter. Percutaneous nephrolithotomy, or it's also known as nephrolithotripsy. It's more invasive, where they're actually cutting into and removing the stones through the skin. Excision-wise, there's nephrectomy, which is the removal of the kidney. Ablation is the cutting away or erosion of tissue. So when you have an ablation of a kidney lesion, usually it's through cryosurgery, cryo meaning freezing, and then it's taking the lesion off that way. There's renal transplantation codes, kidney transplants. Introduction, I talked to you a little bit. Mainly it's for getting the urine out of the kidney due to some sort of obstruction. Repair, remember what a pyeloplasty is. Remember that plasty is repair of, and pyelo is kidney. You'll run into simple pyeloplasty and a complicated one. I believe that's in the CPT texts. For more details on the difference between the two, basically, kind of reading my notes here. Yeah, read the CPT book. Basically, it's the amount of difficulty between the two. and then the laparoscopy codes, endoscopy codes, most anything you can find in the CPT book under kidney for anything that's done for the kidney. Also remember pyelo and nephro. As we move to the ureter, the incision codes are another way to drain urine from the body, basically below the kidney in the ureter rather than going straight into the kidney. Excisions, introductions, manometric studies are tests to measure kidney and ureter flow and pressure. So there's a machine called a manometer, and you have a access site, which is ureterostomy or catheter, and then the tube carries the fluid. A tube carrying fluid is inserted through the access site and into the kidney or bladder, and then the area is basically flooded, and then the pressure and the flow are measured and then recorded. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Again, repair codes, laparoscopy codes, endoscopy codes, and then we get into the bladder. Now, bladder has more codes than often not. Remember that cysto is the bladder. There's also something here in the removal section called aspiration, and aspiration is basically getting the urine out, usually through a needle or a trocar, which is a very sharp pointed surgical instrument, or an intracatheter, which is basically a tube with a needle at the end. Excisions, introductions, which are basically injection procedures. Urodynamics is basically the motion and flow of urine. It's only in the bladder, it's not anywhere else for these particular codes. And then repair and laparoscopy codes, endoscopy codes, transurethral surgery. Keeping in mind trans means cross, so you're going across the urethra. Vesicle neck and prostate, which surprised those aren't in the male genitourinary section, but they're here. And then we get into the urethra. Just looking for things you might want to be on the lookout for. There's a manipulation category that contains a couple codes at the very end of the urinary section. That basically have to do with dilating the urethra. Okay, so that is it. Homework is posted up on Kia, so you guys should be able to get to it no problem. And then what I would do is, I won't say for fun because we know how that works, but is as you come across keywords as you're looking through the CPT chapter, anything that kind of comes to your mind, write them in here. I do this in Excel just because that's what I'm familiar with. You can do it in Word, text editor, whatever you want to, but I'd highly recommend that you just kind of go through this and familiarize yourself with the flow of this particular chapter. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. I've been out for a while trying to get some other projects done for the last couple of weeks, and I apologize for that, so I'm trying to make up for it now. I'll talk to you later.